today.
As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to something new we're going to start doing. And that is Detroit Lions and whoever they're facing, essentially, like this week, Buffalo Bills. I'm going to start doing these streams on Mondays where I kind of give you guys the trending rumors, updates regarding the Detroit Lions, my thoughts on their matchup this week, my thoughts on the weekend because we had the Philadelphia Eagles play, the Minnesota Vikings play. So I'll get into that. We have also a very wild take by Rob Parker about Dan Campbell. I'll get into all of it today. So this is the first time we're actually going to be doing this. And usually Monday mornings, whether you're at work, you work from home, I know we're live every weekday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., but I want to start doing a Monday morning stream to give people, that do have to wait all day for our show, some more updates and get more content for you people. So appreciate you all for tuning in. It is awesome. I'm excited. Like I said, a lot to talk about today. You got to see the Buffalo Bills play this weekend. The Lions have already played. They played on Thursday, and that was a controversial game within itself because you still have people coming out and sharing their opinions, whether or not Dan Campbell should have went for it. Don't worry. We'll get to Rob Parker's take on all that in a little bit because it just keeps getting worse for whatever reason. We also have a Viking, Byron Murphy. He came out and said something about the Detroit Lions. Here we are again. Seems like every week you're getting someone else saying something stupid. And we're going to break it down today. I'm going to share my thoughts also on kind of how the Vikings looked. But before we get into any of that, I want to start with the injury updates because that's really what matters this upcoming week is who's going to play, who's not going to play. Obviously, practice, it is Monday morning, so we'll get all of that later in the week. But as of right now, this is what we have from last week from their matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Taylor Decker was ruled out, did not practice all week with that knee injury. He actually originally suffered it against the Colts. Levi Onwuzurike had the hamstring injury. That was brutal. He didn't practice all week. Josh Paschal did not practice all week. DJ Reader did not practice all week. And I will say this from just my opinion, DJ Reader and Taylor Decker, I think will play this weekend. There is a high likelihood they will play. Now, as far as Levi Onwuzurike and Josh Paschal, those are the two that I'm curious about. Those are two guys, and I will add this, that I do hope play this weekend, especially Josh, because of how valuable he's been to the defensive line. I see Booner got Moss. What's going on with Emmanuel? That's a great question. At least from what I've observed, I would say them just being more patient with him because you see him, he's full practice every single week, but it's probably just small things that he's probably coming back from. Like it says hamstring. I'm assuming they're just being patient with him because to your point, Booner got Mossed. I mean, he's back. So I don't know why he hasn't played yet. I would expect him to play this week. We'll see. He was taken off of IR, so he should be able to go. He had a couple weeks off now being back. So I would expect Emmanuel Moseley back this week as well. Obviously, Carlton Davis, he's playing, so he's fine. He's just been a little banged up, and he still has the knees. He's got the broken thumb. So he's kind of working his way back. He'll be all right. I know the Christian Watson play got everyone kind of a little shook, but I'm not worried about Carlton Davis. But DJ Reader and Taylor Decker being back this week is significant. Significant. I do know this about Buffalo. They have a great defensive line. I know that. And we'll get to their whole entire defense because if you guys watched on Sunday, they got absolutely shredded by the Los Angeles Rams. Absolutely shredded. And that actually should be something you take away as a positive. I mean, Josh Allen played amazing. He had, 350, 3 touchdowns, 5 combined touchdowns, total touchdowns. But that defense for the Bills got carved up. And let's actually go through their injury report because I also have that as well. And they're dealing with some injuries. The Buffalo Bills are. This is their practice report from last week. So we talk about the Lions being banged up. Check out the Buffalo Bills. They have a long list here. Long list. You had Keon Coleman. And I will state this. Like a lot of these guys are either late practice or being out for the Rams. They want them to play against the Lions. So I'm not saying all these guys will be out against the Lions because Keon Coleman did not play against the Rams. You had Dalton Kincaid. He did not play against the Rams. But when you look at light practice, guys, this is just my opinion. They will be full go this week because they know this Lions game is much bigger, and they're chasing the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they just lost to the Rams. The Chiefs just won. So this game this week against the Detroit Lions just became that much more important. And actually, it's the same way on the other side. The Detroit Lions are looking at this game and going, okay, the Eagles just won. So this game becomes more important as well. So for both teams, number 1 seed desires are still on the table. So that's why it's significant for both teams. So a lot of these guys that missed the game, like Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, I expect those guys to play. A lot of these guys ended up playing anyway. But at this point in the year, every team is dealing with some injuries. They just are. And that's why I like the Bills are going to come ready to play. And their defense did get carved up, but they're going to have guys back this week. So the Lions, they're going to have a tough matchup. But same with the Bills. The Bills are going to have to deal with the Lions. And I know and I see this comment here, Andrew. Rams play like it's anybody's game. We will impose our will, but it will be quite difficult. I'm actually going to pull up a tweet from an account that does really good work, Detroit Times. Not the actual Detroit Times, but they posted something, people's thoughts on the game. I would love your guys' thoughts. I want to go through people's early thoughts on the game because I cannot wait. I think it's going to be electric. It should have been flexed. It should be a primetime game, but it's a game that's important, not for either team. It's not like you want to beat the Bills for you need an NFC win. So the AFC stuff doesn't really matter, but what does matter is the number 1 seed, which each team is chasing right now. Chiefs, Eagles are competing with the Lions, Bills. So this game is significant. It is. Even though the divisional game was very important and they beat the Packers and now officially have swept the Packers, this Bills game is very important for that. But Booner got mossed. If the Bills don't lose, it probably would have been flexed, but now probably unlikely. It's a good point. I let me pull this up for you guys because I want to get your guys' kind of early thoughts on this game because I love this post. I love getting people's thoughts on it because I haven't read too much into Twitter, but I know I've seen posts of people discussing the game, and I know Detroit Times, shout out to him, by the way, asked the people how they feeling about the matchup, and people start, Michael, shout out Michael, by the way, he said take the over. I actually don't hate that at all, and I'll get into the Dan Campbell going for it thing and why I think that's going to carry over into this week because I think it'll be that type of game. I really do. Let's see. I see the Swedish Pope. I don't think the Bills D is going to stop the Lions. All Detroit has to do is get a few stops. Will be a high-scoring game, I think. Simple Lion says it's winnable. They have to play a good game, but it's winnable. I mean, so far we're getting a lot of overs. High-scoring game. I'm in lockstep with that, guys. I think this is going to be like a 31 to 28 type of game. I do. I think it'll be similar to the Packers game, in my opinion. I don't know where you guys are at, but I do think it'll be high-scoring. I do think it's going to come down to turnovers, which, Josh Allen's going to crack eventually. And I do think it's going to come down to similar to the Packers game, time of possession, how the Lions run the ball, the boring stuff. But it really will come down to that red zone efficiency. How is your defense in the red zone? Stuff like that. Because I do think it's going to be hard for the Lions to stop Josh Allen. I mean, that's just a fact. But I do think it's the Bills are going to struggle stopping this Lions offense. So that's why having Taylor Decker back this week against this defensive line will be very important. It will be. Lester Marks just depends on who's healthy on defense. That will determine confidence level. Your friend Pedro says, I've said it before 2 years ago, Lions will lose this game, but their first Super Bowl victory will be over the Buffalo Bills. I know people are saying it's going to be a tough game. I don't think it should be, the Bills, they might just get one here. Like the Lions, I mean, if you guys watch the Rams-Bills game, like the Rams, they don't have a great defense, number one. So the Bills kind of had their way. But Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, you like to think those group of players makes a great offense. Did you watch the Rams and Saints game last week? That was disgusting. So the Rams, I know they have the personnel, but to say that the Lions can't beat the Bills or can't put up 40 on the Bills is crazy talk. It is crazy talk. the Lions offense, the Bills aren't going to be able to stop it. They just aren't. They're going to have to get after Goff, which that's why this O-line comes into play. But it's not. Yeah, no. I think this game is. I'm just curious if the line's already out. I have to double check that. I think the Lions will be favored probably by like 2.5, 3.5. The Lions are going to be favored. It's at Ford Field. So no, I think the Bills are going to be stressing this game as much as Lions fans will be. Bills fans will be, and I'm curious to see if they take over Ford Field or at least try to take over Ford Field. Zachary King says, I believe the best defense in the Bills game is keeping the Bills offense off the field. We need long drives to eat clock. Yeah, Zachary, I'm with you. That was kind of I guess, should have been the game plan. And it was the game plan against the Packers. You saw time of possession lines dominated that. So I do agree with you. That's going to be probably the concept. And honestly, guys, I do believe this as well. I think this game could determine MVP. I think we're at that point right now. If you watch the Panthers game, Panthers-Eagles, I'll get to it. But I'm getting fed up. I'm getting fed up with Eagles Twitter, with Vikings Twitter, Packers Twitter, and you know what? Bears Twitter. I'll throw them in there. I don't even know why. We'll throw them in there as well. Just NFC North Twitter and Eagles Twitter. Because what's frustrating me is the amount of disrespect the Lions are getting, but then the Eagles go out there and get bailed out by Xavier Legette not catching a football. Like that, the Panthers, by the way, against a quarterback in Bryce Young, who's been playing way better. And I know they took the Chiefs, down to the end. I get all that. But it's the Panthers. Like, let's be real here, guys. Let's be objective. And I would love an Eagles fan to see this. If the Lions played the Panthers, they would have won that game 34-14. Like, that's typically how that goes. You watch the Jags game. Oh, yeah, the same Jags team that the Eagles barely scraped by. The Lions put a beating on them. Like, I this disrespect is killing me. It just is. And I'm going to play the Byron Murphy thing later. We'll get to it. But I am sick. I am sick and tired of the disrespect the Lions are getting right now. It is insane. After what they just did with all the injuries, beating the Green Bay Packers, and apparently Packers Twitter just can't accept it. I mean, seriously. They're having a hard time accepting a loss. It's honestly, truthfully, it's hilarious. And you have guys like Rob Parker coming out and saying ridiculous things. And I'll play this clip, guys. This is Rob Parker. And I will say this before I play this clip. Rob Parker, I do have respect for because of what he's done in the business. I do. And I've talked to people that know him. He's a great guy. But saying stuff like this in a microphone, there has to be he has to be held responsible in some way. I mean, some accountability needs to be had. Here's Rob Parker discussing Dan Campbell's decision to go. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I want you guys to hear from Rob Parker directly. And this was trending yesterday. So here's, Ryan, no way, no how. Here's Rob Parker on Dan Campbell being aggressive. Let's watch it together. Let's see what he said.
Dan Campbell, for as much credit and people are all excited about him, I think he's a bad coach. And I think he's worse than Brandon Staley when he was with the Chargers, who got fired. This is reckless. And the reason I say he's a bad coach and ultimately will wind up costing the Lions a chance at the elusive trip to the Super Bowl or even a chance to win it is because what he's doing is unnecessary and putting his team in harm's way. And I'm just saying, you don't want to do that if you don't have to, going for it, 4th and 1 inside the 30. I read some stat where no team had done it in 25 years since 2000, had that even been done. And again, you guys who I understand Lions fans, and you're one of them, you love the guy because you endured all the terrible years, okay? I get it. And you're like, oh, they're on the cusp. And this is the guy, he's fearless and this and that. But if you're really honest, Dan Campbell cost you a trip to the Super Bowl last year.
All right. This is ridiculous. In this, guys, I've seen I've seen national TV. This has not been just Rob Parker, by the way. You guys have seen national TV, I'm sure. If you do, if not, you just watch locally, then, God bless you. But if you do pay attention to what national people are saying, it's the same thing. And I want to make this very clear when it comes to Dan Campbell costing the Lions a chance at a Super Bowl. And if there is concern, maybe there are people watching that are probably a little concerned that Dan Campbell will cost the Lions a chance at the Super Bowl. He won't, number one. But number two, the reason why, and when you look at last year against the 49ers, it's not that him going for it costed them. I think what costed him or costed the Lions is Dan Campbell not staying true to who he was. There'd be times you watch that 49ers game when he was supposed to go for it, he did it. When he wasn't, he did. There was a lot of things, like he was still, I think, trying to find his way in the league. Like there was a sense of getting comfortable as a head coach. And you see Dan this year, you could tell he's way comfortable, way more comfortable. And if you have any doubt in your mind with Dan Campbell's aggressiveness or have this thought in your mind that him growing for it could backfire, if you look, it takes a simple Google search. Since 2023, the Lions have the best record in the NFL, 24-6. And they got to the NFC Championship game last year with a very good offense, but a not great defense at all. I mean, they just weren't great. They're way better this year. They're a better team, and you see it with their record, obviously. Dan Campbell, and I said this plenty of times, if you've paid attention to kind of who he is, he knows what type of game it is going to be. He just does. If you, look at last week against the Packers, he knew what game that was going to be. There will be games like last night. You guys watched Sunday Night Football. If you watch the Chiefs and Chargers, that type of game, there's going to be times where you have to think, should I go for it because it is a lower scoring game or take the points? You saw a lot of times in that game, they took the points. But if you have a 34-31 ball game, 60 plus combined points, getting points is going to be the priority. But not just points, touchdowns. Touchdowns are going to be the priority. That's why Dan Campbell was more aggressive against the Packers as opposed to other games. So I think people nationally, either A, they don't watch a lot of Lions, or they don't pay attention to what happens here in Detroit with the Lions. But it seems like there's this common misconception that Dan Campbell plays Madden or coaches like he's playing Madden. Just fuck it, go for it every single time. It makes absolutely zero sense. And that's why when I see either Rob Parker or other people saying, he's Brandon Staley, are you an idiot? Do you know how bad Brandon Staley was? Like in terms of clock management, which again, he never learned from. At least Dan Campbell, there was a point in time early on in his career that he was not great at managing the clock. But guess what? You've never had an issue since. He's learned, he's grown, and he's gotten way better. Brandon Staley, are you shitting? Brandon Staley is probably one of the worst head coaches in the last decade. So Rob Parker, it's an uneducated take, but I will say, Dan Campbell, do I have any worries that Dan will cost the Lions a trip at the Super Bowl? No, I do not. I absolutely do not, because I think this team is, the Eagles, it'll be an interesting matchup. I still think the Lions will beat them, no matter if it's in Philly, like the Panthers just traveled to Philly, or at Ford Field. But they're the better team. They're the best team in the NFC. They're the best team in the NFL, and they have the best coaching staff. One of the, if not the, if you want to put the Chiefs first, okay, fine. Andy Reid, I get that. But they're up there as a coaching staff. So collectively, no, I don't think Dan Campbell will cost this team a trip to the Super Bowl. I do not. And honestly, I like that he trusts his players. And I'll even say this. I'll one up it all right now. I think Dan Campbell, as far as head coaches, is a trendsetter. Yeah, I said it. A trendsetter. I think him going for it and doing this type of shit, more and more coaches are going to start to adapt. I really believe that. And you're seeing it more now, to be honest with you. You're seeing more teams be more aggressive on fourth down. Because typically, and this is I guess this happens in life too, whenever you do something out of the norm that people, it's not traditional, you're going to get pushback. But on top of that, people are going to give you pushback, but then watch you from a distance and think to themselves, is this shit going to work? And when it works, they're like, okay, maybe I'll adopt that. After giving you pushback. That's how that works. It's the world we live in. People are going to say, well, Dan, I wouldn't have done that. Okay, dude. But then you're going to see more teams do it. That's just how it is. More teams are gonna have that approach in the NFL. It's the same way with anything. Adapting, developing, growing. I think Dan Campbell being more aggressive and using all 4 downs and trusting his best unit, which is his offense, more teams are going to do that. I truly believe it. And even the Lions having a great kicker and Jake Bates doesn't, he doesn't shy away from being aggressive. So I do. I think Dan's a trendsetter. I do. I think more teams are going to adopt this. Just like the new age NFL, it's offense. Defenses, they're really facing the most adversity right now. But given that, if you're on 4th down, it's 4th and inches, and you have the best offensive line in the league, go for it. So, yeah, I do. I think he'll start to adopt, or the rest of the league will start to adopt. You're already seeing it now with other coaching staffs being more aggressive. But I think it's only the beginning, honestly. And in about 5 years, no one will bring this up anymore. Seriously. Nick H says, Dan Campbell's aggressive play calling is what got us to the NFC Championship to begin with. Our defense was so bad. Yeah, spot on, Nick. I agree with you 100%. Booner got Moss, that's what I'm saying. People that say his play calling is too aggressive obviously don't watch Detroit Lions football. Yeah. Shout out Michael Gentry, by the way. Yeah, the stash. You know what? Sometimes you just need to make a change. Taking after Michael Gentry. We'll see how long this lasts. Coach Walk, appreciate you. Rob Parker says shit to try and get a reaction. Well, that's all. I feel like that's a lot of pundits, to be honest with you. Why so early today? Well, Monday mornings, I'm going to start doing a kind of Detroit Lions trending news, rumors, updates, that kinds of stuff every Monday at about 9 a.m. So every week, this is the first week, I'm going to start going live every Monday. It's hard. We go live at 8 p.m. You guys have to wait all day. I know you're consuming Lions coverage. So from now on, I want to make sure we get a piece of content out early, a live piece of content. So you guys, again, I want this to be the home base for Detroit Lions content. So with that becomes more streams, more content. And I think this piece of content right here going forward is going to be great, especially when the Lions play on Sunday. I can give you kind of early thoughts, save a lot of it for the show, but trending stuff regarding the Lions. So you don't have to wait till 8 p.m. to get it all, basically, all the information. Let's see. Fat Rail Music. Look what not being aggressive got the Cardinals against the Vikings, going for 3 instead of a TD on the goal line. And that's a great point. Seriously. Sometimes being too aggressive, you still lose games. Or, being too conservative, you can still lose games. Like, I've seen games where coaches being too conservative, they've lost. So now that you want to give a coach flack for being too aggressive and they win, that's what I'm not understanding. How can you fault the guy, especially a team that has the best record the last 2 years? That's how they've done it. They've won games doing it. Therefore, don't get away from it. Keep doing it. And I think this week against the Bills, guys, it's going to be that type of game. I can see Dan Campbell going for it more. I know people don't like him going for it on his own 30, but this Bills game, I do think it'll be that type of game. If you guys watched, I don't think it was last year, was it? They played the Bills. Can't remember if it was last year. Let me search actually right now. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. Let me see. 2022. That's what it was. 2022 when the Lions, they were 4-7 at the time. 2022. I was at that game. And they lost 28-25. And the Lions didn't have the personnel they have now. 28-25. I think it'll be that type of ball game. Maybe not 20. I think it'll be a little higher than 28-25. Both teams are a little better. But that's the type of ball game. Whatever the over is, hit the over. Seriously. Take the over. Ryan says, Rams went for it just yesterday on 4th and 5 to end the game instead of a field goal. Yeah, thank you. Speaking of being a trendsetter, that's Dan Campbell. And Sean McVay, he's a guy that he's going to keep up with what's going on in the league. That's who Sean is. So it's a great comment, Ryan. Appreciate the insight there. Honestly, I didn't even see it. I missed most of the game last night. I went to bed early. So I didn't even watch a lot of I watched the 1:00 games, but I didn't watch the Bills or Rams. I just chilled out and got some rest. But I went back and watched this morning, kind of looked at some of the scores, and I saw the Bills, and I'm like, oh my gosh. It's going to be that type of game, guys. High scoring. I truly believe that. All right. I want to kind of get to the Philadelphia Eagles because they had the game against the Panthers. If you guys watched that game, it was disgusting. It was. And Jalen Hurts, again, proving something that I've already known to be true. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. I do. I don't want to disrespect him as a quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't have faith. If I'm an Eagles fan, he can consistently beat teams with his arm. He just hasn't proven it. I mean, he had Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown last night. His arm puts no fear into my eyes. It does not. What does put fear is the run game. Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts when he's on the run. And if you want to bring up the pass game, I think an occasional go ball to A.J. Brown, that would probably be the one thing. It's like, okay, don't give up the big play. But Jalen Hurts nickel and diming you down the field with his arm is not going to happen. He just hasn't proven it consistently. And he's already a little banged up. But when I look at kind of early thoughts on the Eagles, they played to their competition. They played down to their competition. That is what they've been. That is what they've done. When you look at the Eagles this year and look at their schedule, and I'll pull it up real quick, the Eagles have a ton of talent. Don't get me wrong, they do. But they've lost to the Falcons at home, by the way, who the Falcons just got obliterated by the Vikings, if you paid attention to that game. The Eagles beat the Saints by 3. They've lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just like the Lions. They beat the Browns by 4. They've beat the Jaguars by 5. Then they beat the Carolina Panthers by 6. So they haven't had. You look at their blowout wins. It's like, okay, Dallas Lions blew them out. The Rams, that was a good one, but I'm pretty sure in that Rams game there was a ton of injuries on the Rams side. Could be wrong if I remember correctly. But regardless, they, for the most part, play down to their competition, especially when they're facing a Jags team or a Panthers team. Like, how are you beating? You're supposed to be the Eagles. They're supposed to be this ultra stacked team with, Jalen Carter. You look at the offensive side, right? The plethora of weapons, the offensive line, Saquon Barkley, an MVP candidate. Put up 22 against the Panthers at home, who, by the way, have the worst rushing defense in the league. And the the Eagles, by the way, have 2 guys that can kill you with their legs, and they put up 22 points. Like, that is sad. And not just that, but Bryce Young, he actually had a pretty good game. It wasn't bad. He wasn't bad. I mean, completion percentage-wise wasn't great, but that's kind of been his completion percentage. But if you watch that game, he was on his way to win that game at the very end. He was on his way. And the Xavier Legette catch, he just couldn't haul it in. And the Eagles got bailed out, by the Panthers, who are 1-4, now 1-5 on the road. And they almost took down the Eagles. I'm not as scared as I'm not as scared of the Eagles as probably other people are. Seriously. I think the Eagles have talent, and I understand that every game in the NFL, I see this comment. Broski Bear, it's football, you non-playing athletes, not everyone will be pretty. Completely understand that. But what's a good indicator of a team that could drop one? What I look at is teams that have had many, many, many close games. If you guys remember, you look back and the Vikings, 13-4, not built the same way at all. But Kirk Cousins, Kevin O'Connell went 13-4. They won the most one-score games in the league. They had a ton of close games. And by Broski Bears metric, it's like, well, they're winning. They're winning, which is a good thing. They're winning games until you face Danny Dimes in the playoffs and he lights you up and you lose. So you have to look at style at some point. Like the Lions, I get that. They've had close games, right? They beat the Bears by 3. They beat the Packers by 3. But they beat the brakes off of teams they're supposed to beat. That is my point. If you're supposed to beat a team, take care of that said team. The Lions have done that. They haven't played these close games against the Jags, the Cowboys, the Titans. They've beat the living shit out of those teams. And as they should. You know, they are the significantly better team. The Eagles, for whatever reason, win close against the Jags, the Panthers. They blew out the Cowboys. But the Eagles, there is a sense, and maybe it's the Nick Sirianni effect where you worry if he's going to lose them a game. Maybe. Saquon Barkley is what scares me with the Eagles. And when I look at the matchup there, you know, especially with how they played against the Panthers, like Saquon Barkley played well, you know, like Saquon, he had 100 yards, 100 plus, you know, he had 124 yards, which is kind of what Saquon does. They ran for 200 yards, but Jalen Hurts, 14 of 21 for 83 yards, or excuse me, 108 yards. Like they're not beating you with their arm. He's not beating you with his arm consistently, Jalen Hurts. So when I look at the matchup with the Lions, I look at Josh eventually coming back, Lee McNeil being back, DJ Reader being back, and hell, Zadarius Smith, who's very good against the run. I actually don't mind the matchup there. And once you get Anzalone back and you have Jack Campbell and Anzalone, now you have your front seven. You have the guys, and hopefully Derek Barnes gets back in the playoffs. You have your front seven that you started with besides Hutch, which is significant. I will not deny that. But I like that matchup, guys. Like, if they could at least hold Saquon under 100, Jalen Hurts is not beating the Lions by himself. You know what I mean? He's not beating you with his arm. I shouldn't say by himself, but he's not beating you with his arm. He's just not. I mean, look at Jordan Love. Jordan Love was 12 of 20 for 200 yards, had a couple nice completions, Christian Watson, but he wasn't beating the Lions with his arm. You know, he only had 200. That should have been, honestly, if I'm being honest with you guys, full transparency, I thought Jordan Love was going to have like 300 passing yards. Honestly, I really did. I thought he was going to light the Lions up. They did a good job. And the Lions do a great job of not letting up anything big in terms of A.J. Brown go ball, Devontae Smith jump ball, you know, these huge plays. The Lions do a really good job of that. So I'm not scared of the Eagles. I'm not. And I like the Lions to win on the road at home. I don't think it'll be I'm not saying the Lions are going to take care of the Eagles easily, but look at this Eagles team. Hey, just like when people say they put their pants on in the morning too, they're human. This Eagles team's human. They shit just like we do. All right. They're not super. They're not some super human team, you know, with Jalen Carter, who I actually did like coming out of the draft, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick. Actually, Hassan Reddick's on the Jets, but you get my point. They have good defensive linemen. Chuba Hubbard almost ran for 100 yards against them, and they're supposed to be one of the best rushing defenses in the league. You don't think the Lions, with the best backfield duo in how long, can't have a successful day on the ground against them with the best O-line? Who are the Panthers? Who do the Panthers have on their O-line? Honestly, like truthfully, I don't know. So the Lions, I think it'll be a favorable matchup. Fat Rail Music, how do you feel about Hutch coming back by the NFC title game? They say it's a possibility. Yeah, if you guys didn't see this, I want to make sure I pull up the video just to give clarification. I have it. I could play it, honestly. I don't even mind. It was posted on Crunch Time's Twitter. It was, let's see. Jay Glazer. Shout out Jay Glazer. He brought up the conversation. And I'll play the video. I don't care if we get copyrighted. Screw it. It's funny. It's hilarious, this clip. And I'll talk about it after. But here's Jay Glazer on the possibility that Hutch might come back.
Might they be getting some guys back?
Well, might be getting one of their biggest stars back a little bit sooner than maybe they thought. And Aidan Hutchinson, look, here's where he is. He's actually doing some underwater running on an underwater treadmill. He's able to walk on land, as they say. He's supposed to use a cane, but he's not really using it right now. And they actually are holding out hope, just because of how hard he works, that he could possibly be back. Not the Super Bowl, but the NFC Championship game, depending on how that bone feels. And Dan Campbell says also how much practice he can get.
So, okay, there's Jay Glazer giving the update. And, you know, essentially, could he be back by the NFC Championship game? Depends on how his foot feels, or his leg, rather, and how kind of his physical therapy goes. We made a video about this about a week ago, and we had the conversation. I personally don't think Hutch will be back. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't think he'll be back, because when you watch video footage of Aidan Hutchinson, you see that leg, and you see how much muscle he's lost. Like it takes time, especially for a man that size, especially with an injury that severe, to come back. So do I think Hutch will be back? I do not. I don't think he should come back. God forbid he he gets hurt again or worsens it or does something. Now you're talking about an extended kind of a delay. You see him for next season, which should be the main focus, is getting him back healthy for next season. That should be the number one focus. So in my opinion, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the inside information with what Hutch wants to do or what the Lions expect Hutch to do. Obviously, Jake Glazer's and he has a lot of information. My personal opinion, I do not think he'll be back. So that is where I stand with it currently. I do not think he'll be back. Now, if you guys think he'll be back, I would love to have the convo, but I'm not going to give up hope. But same time, I don't see a scenario where they just allow him to play in the Super Bowl. How much time is that? I mean, we're in December right now, about to be mid-December. You're talking about February. I mean, you're talking about 2 months, essentially. Yeah, I mean, he's already been out. It'd be a couple. I mean, yeah, no, I'm not. No, I'm going to say no for me personally. But if he does, great. It'll be awesome. D-Dunk says, Rams can be dangerous in the playoffs. Yeah, the Rams are a team that could definitely be sneaky in the playoffs. Not a matchup. I wouldn't sit there and say, give me the Rams. That's for sure. Answer 14, while the sentimental side says he'll yes, but the practical guy says Hutch should not come back until he's fully recovered. As strong as he has agreed, Jeff, we need him 100% for next year. Yeah, next year, guys, you want this thing to be multiple years. And the Lions are good enough right now to win a Super Bowl. They are. And when you talk about a defense that you think, is this defense good enough to win a Super Bowl? I do think it is. Are they one of the best defenses in the history of the NFL? No. But you look at the Chiefs defense, a lot of these top teams, the Bills defense, the Ravens defense. When you have an offense like you have with the Lions, you can put points up on anybody. You just need a defense that can get you situational stops, be stout in the red zone. And the Lions have shown they can do that. So I think they're a contender without Hutch, personally, regardless. Now, would he kind of put the staple on it and get you a for sure, this team is set to win? Yes, I do, because Hutch was Defensive Player of the Year, but they have enough, especially with Zadarius Smith, guys. Zadarius Smith has been playing really well lately. I know it kind of goes over people's heads, or maybe not. Maybe you guys understand that, but people just see he got another sack. When you look at, he almost has as many sacks. I believe he might already have it. As many sacks as he had with the Browns. He has already now with the Lions. He is balling. So, yeah, Zadarius Smith's been a really good addition. I cannot wait to see those two play together next year. Elle says, what is this, CT Mornings? No, I'm going to start going live every Monday, guys. Just kind of, I'd love to talk with the people, talk more about Lions rumors, news, updates, everything when it comes to the Lions. Usually they play on Sunday. So Monday, you kind of get the game, the day after the game thoughts, and just rumors, trending stuff, that injuries, all that stuff. My thoughts on the NFL weekend, which honestly is more relevant today, playing the Bills, the Eagles, who they're chasing to get the number 1 seed. And when you look at the Eagles schedule also, they have a tough game this week as well. They play the Steelers. Luckily for them, they play them at home, because if they went to Pittsburgh, it'd be a whole different story. But they play the Steelers in Philly. So that's a tough game. If you ask me right now, do you want to play the Steelers or do you want to play the Bills? You'd probably say Steelers just because of Russ, but the Steelers have been playing really well. They really have. And they have a lot of talent too on defense. They have a really good defense. So I'm curious how that matchup goes for them. Eagles still got to get past the Steelers. So, we were talking about the Lions facing the Bills. Eagles, they got to face the Steelers. So they have a tough game this week as well for them. So big games for both teams. And I think the Lions absolutely need the number 1 seed right now. I mean, they do. With all the injuries they have, they really do. I mean, seriously. You might have a chance. If they get the number 1 seed, guys, you'll get Anzalone for sure back, because he's already missing most of the year, but he'll be back. Josh Pascal will I think he'll be back before that. Levi O, same thing. But think of the guys that need the rest, though. Carlton Davis, Taylor Decker, DJ Reader, and even the guys I named. And maybe you give another week for Derek Barnes to get back. Like there's so much benefit to getting in the number 1 seed. Now that they have the NFC North, for the most part, it feels like they have it locked up. We'll see with the Vikings, which the Vikings just won and they beat the Falcons. But okay, they beat the Falcons. And I see Byron Murphy chirping. And I'm going to play this clip from Byron Murphy, by the way, because the number 1 seed, which I know I talked a lot about the Eagles. Vikings are there. It's like it's like the stepbrother you don't talk about. That's been the Vikings. And to me, they're frauds. Certainly. You look at their team, and I think Kevin O'Connell deserves a ton of credit because of how well they're playing, given the talent, and Brian Flores for the defense. But Vikings, it seems like NFC North guys. I mean, you have Xavier McKinney, Tucker Kraft, chirping. Okay, great. That was cute. They won. They beat them 2-0 in the season. Now you have Byron Murphy talking. Byron Murphy. No, not Justin Jefferson. No, not even Sam Darnold. Or no, not Jonathan Greenard or any of the Byron Murphy, who's a fine corner. But what? Just check this video out. This is and I get the competitiveness, by the way. And if I was a Vikings fan, I would love this. But as a Lions fan, this is getting ridiculous. Just how salty and how in the Lions living rent free in all of these players' heads. Let's watch this video together. This is Byron Murphy. This is actually before their game. He had another thing post game where he was chirping too to Tom Pelissero. If you watch that Vikings game on TV, but here's Byron Murphy on the Lions.
Do you like your chances to earn a game ball on Sunday?
Oh, definitely. I like a couple game balls this Sunday. Yes, sir.
I'm just looking at. Kirk does throw the ball to the opposition.
He does.
Right? So that feeds into what you can do.
Yes, sir. We also know Kirk's a great quarterback. I've been here with him. Great. Like I said, great quarterback. Can really make any throw. So we know he's going to, the ball's going to be at, we got to guard every route with him. But like I just said, he's a great quarterback. We got to go in this game, thinking we got to get the ball out, though. That's number 1 for sure.
Did you watch the Packers-Lions game last night?
Man, I did. Obviously, Detroit came with the win, and I don't like that. But, it was a good game. I feel like, some plays, Green Bay could have did better. But, it's football. Things happen. And obviously Detroit won the game. So, we'll see them soon.
If Green Bay wins, though, there's no way you would have liked Green Bay winning, right?
No, I don't like it, but I just don't. I'm not liking all this Detroit talk right now. That's just, I just keep hearing it over and over since. So I'm just over them. I'm over Green Bay too, but Detroit they're just talking about them too much, and I'm just over that as well.
I suppose if Green Bay wins, that does create maybe more of an opening for you guys to win the division.
Definitely, that does give us, an opportunity for us, even better opportunity. But like I said, it's football. Things can happen. Didn't get the job done, so now we just got to keep our head right and just keep staying focused.
What? Byron Murphy. How bad are the Lions, the Detroit Lions, in these players' heads to where they're rooting for other NFC North teams that are actually have a similar record? I think the Packers at that point were only a game behind. But you're saying you hope the Packers couldn't get it done. What side are you on? And why are you so bothered by the Lions getting all the love right now? It's just, I don't know. It's honestly hilarious, guys. I tweeted this out. I'm like, oh, we got another one. Byron Murphy. Every week, it's next week it'll be someone else. Following week it'll be someone else. It's going to be every week. Someone else is going to be talking. And I'm surprised. And this to me is the biggest takeaway from this and from Xavier McKinney and from Tucker Kraft is they are upset that the Lions are so good. That is how that works because the Lions have been down and out for quite a while. They've been the laughingstock of the league. And there was a point in time where, the Lions, at least the last 2 years, and there are some of that still, where the Lions are kind of the darling of the NFL. And, national TV or fans of other teams are like, man, go Lions. Yeah, we like to see you guys win. It's exciting. You're getting into a point now where you are hated. You are getting to a point now where you are hated. Think of a team in your mind that is one of the most hated teams right now in the league. The Chiefs. Think of a time where another team that they were the most hated. The Patriots with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. There's always a bone to pick with a team that's very good. Now, the Lions have not won a Super Bowl like those two other teams, but I'll tell you this. The Lions are whooping teams and other teams are upset. It's just, Like the Lions are undefeated in the NFC North this year, and they're upset. Like what Byron Murphy should be concerned with is not allowing Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jamison Williams to cook them. You know, and they're going to play them again. This time it'll be at Ford Field. I cannot wait for that game. It's the end of the year. But the Lions, there is a chance they go undefeated in the NFC North. And guys, that to me is Big Brother. Like that is, we talk about, and yeah, this is the whole thing, RP. Kind of like Ohio State wishing Michigan would be a rival after killing us for so long. Now it isn't funny after 4 losses. Yeah, it's not fun when the rabbit has the gun. You know what I mean? It's not fun at all when the team that has been hunted is now hunting. Or vice versa. The team that you've hunted is now hunting you. Whatever you want to use. It's not fun, Byron. It's not fun. So I continue to laugh. I find it hilarious, guys. I don't know why players decide to speak. Like, you don't think the Lions are going to use this shit for motivation? I mean, seriously, you don't think they're going to see this? They're younger players. There's a lot of guys in their 20s, younger 20s on the team. You don't think they're scrolling on Twitter and seeing shit like this and seeing Byron Murphy? But, yeah, I don't really like the Lions, man. I'm sick of all the talk. Okay, dude. Well, the best team in the league. So, of course, they're going to fucking talk about them. Like, it's not like the Lions. Think about it. It's not like Amon-Ra St. Brown is going live and being like, yeah, no one can beat us. Or Dan Campbell's going to the press conference and he's like, yeah, we're the shit. No one's beating us. It's not them. It's everyone else talking about the Lions. So why are you upset? You know, like, or maybe he sees Lions fans going at it with Packers fans. And whatever it is. It's not Lions players or coaches. They don't talk. You know, like they just win. They just find ways to win. Maybe that's upsetting for people. I don't know. It's actually hilarious. It's fun, guys. I don't know how you guys feel. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to cover a team like this that just whoops ass and everyone hates him. I think it's awesome. Seriously. Chris Mixless, look at Jordan Reeder. I think he meant Jaden Reed. Look, he thought he was going to pull off the Amon-Ra St. Brown dance and got strapped down. Yeah, Jaden Reed. I went on Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast and was like, wait till I get to Ford Field, and he didn't actually do anything at Ford Field. So it's the same thing. Like Byron Murphy's talking. I'm not scared of Byron Murphy, man. Now none of the Lions players are. It's like Xavier McKinney saying he ain't worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, okay. All right, cool. Or Tucker Kraft. Can't wait to put my hands on Kirby. It's like, dude, shut up. Shut up, man. These guys are worried about the wrong things. Seriously. And this is like for any sport. When someone's good and they just do it and it's casual, they just win. They just find ways to win. It's going to piss people off. Like, Byron Murphy's looking at this like, man, they want what the Lions have. Like, the Lions are the team that many people would say are the best team in the league. Right now, they look the best. So, like, of course he's going to be butthurt. Ray Coker, he says, Jeff, are you going to be at Nap City Garage again this year? We plan to be. It was a great spot. I mean, the owner, he's such a great guy. Honestly, it was easy. The people were awesome in there. Obviously, I grew up around the area, so it was kind of like a homecoming for me. But yeah, we'll be back. We will. RP, these are the good old days for the Lions fans. Enjoy every minute of this. Yeah, absolutely. To what RP said, man, enjoy this. This is fun. Like I said, the Chiefs, I saw a Chiefs fan quote tweet it and said, quote tweeted something. It was like a Packers tweet. It was a Chiefs fan. And he's like, I understand why we're getting hate. But why the fuck are people hating on the Lions? Like, and again, maybe the Lions have entered that tier. They haven't won a Super Bowl, but they are on that tier. I mean, they're looked at as that team with the Chiefs. So, of course, they're going to get shit. It's just how it is. By the way, drop your questions. Anything you guys want to discuss, leave them in the comments. We got about 10 minutes. I'm going to go live for an hour here. So, drop them in the comments, and I will get to it if I can. But I think that should be the takeaway today is enjoy this. The season's flying by, guys. I mean, seriously, it is flying by. Every time I check, I'm like, wow, they're already 13 games into the year. It seems like the NFL just always flies by. So enjoy this time. Every year is different in the league. To be consistently good is something that should be praised, and the Lions of the last 2 years have been great. So enjoy the ride. Enjoy Byron Murphy chirping. Enjoy Xavier McKinney and Tucker Kraft chirping. And get ready for this Bills game. I cannot wait. This is a potential Super Bowl matchup. And this game is Ford Field is going to be rocking. If you're going to the game, have a blast. Seriously, we'll be live. Obviously, we haven't decided on what bar we'll be at this week. We will find that out in the next couple of days. But like this game this weekend is going to be massive. It's going to be huge for both teams, for AFC number 1 seed purposes, NFC number 1 seed purposes. So enjoy it. Ray Coker says, you see another loss on the schedule. I think if we can get past the Bills, it's a possible 16-1 season. Yeah, well, you know what, Ray? Let me check real quick because we've had this conversation. I thought they would drop a divisional game personally, and I had them losing to the Bills of the 49ers. But then they beat the Packers and said, yeah, Jeff, you're wrong. So I don't even know anymore, Ray. Honestly, I thought they would drop the game against the Packers weeks ago. And then leading up to the game, I was like, man, like I had them splitting with the Packers. I'm not going to lie to you. But then when we got to the game, I'm like, they can beat the Packers. I picked 33-27, something like that. They won 34-31. I'm looking at their schedule. They have the Bills, they have the Bears on the road, at San Francisco and Minnesota. I mean, I'm trying to find a loss here. And Zach, yeah, I'm happy. There's not many times I'm happy I'm wrong. I was happy I'm wrong. Anything when it comes to the Lions, I'm cool with being wrong. I have no issue with that. But look at the schedule. Like, I don't know where the loss is. I mean, Buffalo, if you can, the Buffalo game is going to be the biggest test. Okay. You have to get past Buffalo. San Francisco on the road, I think it's going to be a good game. I know San Francisco's without a ton of players, but they're still well coached. And, they still beat the brakes off the Bears. I don't know how they'll kind of measure that. I don't know if that's San Francisco being really, they're underrated, like way better than the record is, or the Bears are just that shit. I don't know. So that one's tough for me to kind of measure on the road. I think they beat the 49ers though. I just don't know how close that game will be. The Vikings at home will be a great game, but I think they beat the Bears. Like the Bears, if you watched them last night, that was disgusting. So I don't know, Ray. They could easily win out, and end the season 16-1. I do believe that. So, and that's where I'm at now, So I think they can win out, honestly. I don't see a loss on the schedule. I think there'll be some close games, maybe some tough ones. Maybe they let one slip. But I'll say this. Worst case, they drop one. I don't know who to, though. They're better. They'll be favored in every one of those games. So we'll see. We will see. Ali says, is Iffy expected to be back this year? Yeah, I would like to say so. He's on IR right now. And Iffy's a guy that he's kind of that Swiss Army knife that AG loves. And I really do want Iffy back because he is such a good player. I think people have kind of forgotten about him because he's been out all year. And last year you saw really what Iffy could be. And he's in a contract year. I don't know if they re-sign him. We'll see. But I would like to say he will be back. He's on IR 4 games. That was a couple games ago. So I expect Iffy to play at some point, especially if you're going on the Super Bowl run. Like you're calling in reinforcements. So yeah, Iffy, I think, will be back. Shout out Caleb, by the way. Caleb says Bills coming off a loss is tough, but other than that, I see W's. Yeah, that's well said. The Bills are going to be ready to play this week. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a down to the wire game. Coach Walk says, what's going on with Mosley? Well, I talked about it earlier, Coach. Honestly, I asked the same thing. I think what they're doing with Mosley is just being patient. Like, this is a guy who every time he gets on the field lately, he just gets injured immediately. So they're probably taking their time with Mosley, and they have, they're winning. So it's not like they need to rush him. But, Coach, I do think he plays soon. He was full practice last week. This week, he'll probably be full practice again. Maybe he plays this week. This Bills game could easily be that type of game where it's like all reinforcements. Let's go. Emmanuel Mosley plays. They're going to get DJ and Taylor Decker back, and you'll find out more. But I think Emmanuel Mosley, there's a high chance he plays this week personally because they've been patient with him, and I think it'll happen this week. He's probably been dealing with some lingering stuff. I nothing to freak out about, but yeah, I've been confused with it too, Coach. I thought he'd be back about a week or two ago, to be honest with you. Let's see. Okay. Wisco. If the Lions win the next 3 games, Minnesota keeps winning. Lions still get the division because their strength of victory and common opponents, win-loss record, tiebreakers. Think Rams for that. It's a great point, Wisco. And if you look at the Vikings too, it's like, I know that their losses, let's see here. I just want to check real quick. Vikings schedule. I know they lost to the Rams, but I can't think of who else they've lost to. I mean, a lot of Lions, of course, but who's their other one? There's only 2. Yep, you are right. Rams and Lions. They've beaten every other team, and they still got to face Green Bay, Seattle, and Chicago. And Chicago, I think they beat, but Seattle and Green Bay, Seattle on the road, those aren't gimmies before they get to Detroit. So we'll see. They got the Packers again. This is a pissed-off Packers team. They lost to the Vikings earlier in the year. So I think the Vikings could easily drop 1 or 2. And then it'll essentially lock up the NFC North for you. But we'll find out. We will find out. Brad Holmes, or Eagles fans are popping off when we almost lost to the Bears. They're real quiet now. Yeah, I spoke about that earlier, Brad Holmes, or I'm sick of it. The disrespect is crazy. And they beat the Panthers by 6. They beat the Jags by 5? Like, this Eagles team, they're human. You know, they're humans too. All right. This ain't no unbeatable. Saquon, the rushing attack. They gave up almost 100 yards to Chuba Hubbard. And that O-line, the Panthers O-line. And Jalen Hurts at 100 passing yards. What are we doing? Ray Coker, you think we see Pat O'Connor, Al Muhammad step up again? Or if not, who do you think does? I don't know half these guys, but they seem to make plays in the AG defense. Well, Ray, I am with you on that. Not knowing a lot of the guys are. Honestly, I didn't know who Ezekiel Turner was. I did not. I saw Ezekiel Turner. I was like, who is this guy? And he made a play. And I'm fully transparent. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'd be like, yeah, I know who Ezekiel Turner is. No, I don't. I don't know who the fuck that was. But he made a huge play. And it seems like AG, any good coach, they're going to find a way to put players in the best position to succeed. And what you've seen with Pat O'Connor and Al Muhammad, and both of their stories, by the way, are exceptional. Pat O'Connor, he had watching his press conference and him speaking to the media, it does kind of touch your feelings a little bit because he's never played as much snaps as he has now. Like, actually had a big role like he's had now with I think he was with the Bucs prior. He never had this type of role with the Bucs. So the Lions, not only do they trust their players, which I think a lot of these guys, they don't take it lightly. Like Pat O'Connor, understanding that he has a big role in this defense, he does not take it lightly. But Pat O'Connor's been so good. And honestly, he should continue to be in the rotation. They're going to need him going forward if Levi's out because he'll still play some snaps. But even with Levi playing, I mean, Pat O'Connor's been playing. So Pat O'Connor ain't going nowhere. And I like Pat a lot. Now, Al Muhammad, kind of same thing. We'll see with Josh. But he's a good guy to sub in. Like, him and Josh bring different skill sets. Like, Josh has a little bit of that pass rush, but Josh is really good against the run. Al Muhammad, he's getting better at his run defense, but he is an exceptional pass rusher. So those guys can kind of play off each other a little bit. So you'll see those guys more. You'll see those guys more, especially with Levi and Josh. I kind of, battling injuries. But even when they come back, I think you'll still see Al and Pat because Al Muhammad's been a pressure machine and Pat O'Connor's been solid. And I think Aleem will be back this week. I do. I believe he will. They got 10 days off. That's my early thoughts. But we shall see. They're going to need him this week. I think him and DJ are back this week. And we'll see what practice looks like for Josh Paschal and Levi Onwuzurike. I'm optimistic you'll see one of those guys back. If not, it is what it is. It's next man up. And you'll probably see a lot of Al Muhammad. And you just kind of figure it out from there. And AG kind of done what he's done all year, which is kind of patch together a defense. But we will find out more information. When we do, we'll discuss it on the show and kind of break it down. Appreciate you joining, Ray. Andrew, Pat O'Connor made it sound like a Hall of Fame speech. I loved it. Yeah, I know. Pat O'Connor's an easy guy to root for. I mean, he just is. Brad Holmes, or I'm taking Goff and MCDC over Hurts and Sirianni all day. Playoffs come down to your QB and coach a lot of the times. I mean, it's an excellent point. And I said this earlier, like, again, Hurts does not scare me. His arm does not scare me. What scares me is Saquon in their rushing attack. They ran for 200 yards against the Panthers. They want to run the football. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not thinking, I brought it up, an occasional goal ball to A.J. Brown. But Jared Goff and what this passing attack has done, they've been carving teams up. So when you talk about quarterback and head coach, you are spot on. I'm going Jared and Dan over Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. To me, it's not even a conversation. Truthfully, I mean, and I think Sirianni at times gets a little too much hate, but he isn't near the coach Dan Campbell is. He just isn't at all. But we'll see, guys. Lots to talk about this week. Lions, Bills. I cannot wait. We'll talk more about it tonight, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. So be there. Come hang out with the fellas. We'll talk more just about maybe some of the Green Bay storylines from that game. We talked a lot about it on Friday, but I didn't feel like we got to a lot of it. And then we'll also preview the Bills game this week. So it'll be a great conversation. Join us 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I appreciate you all tuning in. I will be live every Monday at about 9 a.m. So come hang out. Come join the show. Let's talk some Lions. I have a blast doing it, and it's even more fun when you guys come and hang out. Get your merchandise, officialctsports.com, and subscribe to the channel. We're about 9, maybe 8 subscribers away from 11,100, so we're trying to climb. But until tonight, I will catch you all. Have a great rest of your day, and have a great rest of your day if you're at work as well. Peace!